Local news and the best talk. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
KVNU News Time is 5:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Northern Steel Buildings. The architects of the Parade of Gingerbread Homes contest have raised the bar this year with some intricate designs and imaginative settings. The contest in downtown Logan will go until December 31st. There are 11 gingerbread houses this year in downtown businesses waiting to be voted on, according to Gary Saxton, executive director of the Logan Downtown Alliance. It's the 23rd anniversary of the contest, and this year they have two categories, the professionals and the community builders. He said once you win, you become a professional builder. Saxton encourages people to go downtown and look at the different houses. Each location has a box to drop your ballot into and a map to show where to find the rest of the entries. This year, each architect will have a chance to win one of 6 $100 grand prizes. The artists will be on hand this Friday evening from 6 to 9 during the Downtown Logan Gallery Walk hosted by Cash Arts, and they will discuss their creations. KBNU News Time is 5:06. KBNU weather for tonight. Mostly cloudy skies is our forecast for this evening, and the overnight low tonight near 15. And then cloudy on Wednesday, upper 20s. By Wednesday night, a 50% chance of snow, so they've increased that a little bit from the earlier forecast. So that's for tomorrow night. Slight chance of snow in the morning, and then partly sunny by the afternoon on Thursday. High temperature in the mid-20s. It's been to 28. It's 27 right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Mr. Mac, a big selection of suits from slim fit to classic fit, including two-pant suits and boys' suits. 1309 North Main, right next to Winco. That's where you'll find Mr. Mac.
We might all agree that a vacation to Vegas is good, but Hawaii is better. Same thing when you're building. Wood is good, but metal is better. If you're considering a new building for your farm or business, let Northern Steel Building show you the benefits of metal. Metal is stronger with little or no maintenance, and it doesn't burn. Find out how affordable a metal building really is by visiting northernsteelbuilding.com. That's northernsteelbuilding.com, or call 435-677-7300.
KBNU News Time is 5:08. A 38-year-old homeless man was hospitalized after being run over by a car while sleeping near a Salt Lake City street. Salt Lake police said the incident happened under the I-15 off-ramp a short time after 6 a.m. on Monday. Officials with the Salt Lake City Fire Department found the man critically injured and immediately began providing life-saving aid. According to the police department, he was transported to a nearby hospital and was upgraded to stable condition. Detectives suspect the driver, who works in the area and frequently parked under the off-ramp, drove onto the gravel beneath the bridge and ran over the victim. They also noted there was no lighting under the overpass and it was still dark outside during the time of the crash. The driver remained on scene and was cooperating with the investigation. A new AARP Fraud Watch Network report is putting a spotlight on how criminals are targeting holiday shoppers this year in hopes of separating them from their hard-earned money. Sam Shumway with AARP Wyoming points to one increasingly common phishing scam where fraudsters pose as a delivery representative from a trusted company to get people to hand over their credit card or other sensitive information.
You'll get a text message, and it'll say your Amazon order has been delayed. Click on this link, and it'll verify your information. You click on that link, and the next thing you know, they have your credit card. They also have your Amazon login information.
3 out of 4 U.S. consumers have been targeted by at least one form of fraud that can be tied to the holidays. In addition to shipping scams, the majority of crimes involve fake end-of-year charitable donation requests and fake online ads promising gifts at unusually low prices. Many residents want to support nonprofits during end-of-year fundraising appeals, and the report encourages people to check to see how Charity Navigator, Charity Watch, and the Better Business Bureau rate organizations. Shumway says if you get an unsolicited call from a veterans organization or another important cause you support, take a pause and do your research.
The best thing to do is thank them and then go online and look at their website and reach out to them directly. So you're initiating the contact. And then also check with these groups that will verify the validity of nonprofits and ensure that they're on the up and up.
If you believe that you may have been a victim of fraud, contact law enforcement or the AARP Fraud Watch Network at 877-908-3360. KBNU News Time is 5:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
Dr. Josh Red, chiropractic physician, explains how Red River Health and Wellness can help you.
If you have low thyroid and you're taking thyroid medication, the biggest question you should ask yourself is what's causing my low thyroid specifically? If you don't know the answer to that question, it's important to call us. At Red River, we identified triggers that will cause the low thyroid to begin with. One of the most common causes of low thyroid is a disease called Hashimoto's disease. This is an autoimmune disease that is a lot more complicated than just a primary thyroid issue. This is why people will be on thyroid hormone but still feel little to no improvement because nothing's being done to address the bigger, more complicated problem, which is Hashimoto's. If you have low thyroid or you have an autoimmune disease and you're on medication and still don't feel well, call Red River.
Schedule your appointment today at 855-55-RIVER. Red River Health and Wellness with offices in Logan, South Jordan, Springville, and St. George.
Call Red River today.
I'm Amy, and we have been coming up here for years. We love the Sportsman. We love the small town feel, great service, all the great quality of merchandise. It's been our tradition, and we love it and look forward to it every year. They do have other brands that are hard to find in Salt Lake. I see merchandise up here that I don't see down in Salt Lake. The Sportsman, there's nothing like it.
Welcome, friend. Nice to see you again at the Sportsman.
On Main Street in the heart of downtown Logan with tons of free parking in the back.
Feels like Tuesday. Tuesday has no feel.
Close that window.
Yeah. Somebody let the Steve Miller Band in.
Hour 2 of today's show, Tuesday, December 13th. I'm Jason Williams, Bill Walter here in the studio as well. Temperatures definitely dipping down. So again, remember, icy road conditions are in the forecast for this evening and tomorrow morning. And then temperatures remain low throughout the week. Some of our lowest possibly coming just before the weekend, or lowest to date. Yeah.
And it's the Russian Arctic Express.
Russia, just the gift that keeps on giving, right? Now,
that could hit us, but it may go east of the Rockies. We'll just have to wait and see.
Now sending us their freezing cold air. Yeah. This is... So this hour, we've got an update. Our friend Tammy Pfeiffer sent this along. Actually, midst prep for the show today, I got this update. So I'm glad we were able to include this last minute. And we'll revisit some of our conversations earlier in the year about the 8-week Dignity Index pilot program. But news coming just before we started today that they had officially gone national. They launched the Dignity Index on a national stage. So expect that to be something you actually see and hear about in the news in the next couple of years of never-ending presidential campaigning. Yay, we're all excited about that, right? The Dignity Index, though, remember, every time you see it and hear about it, and we see, people with big names like Tim Shriver and others, former big-name campaign consultants, even like Karl Rove, you'll see them maybe talking about this. Remember, it started here in Utah. This was an idea hatched by Tim Shriver and his whole crew at Project Unite, which Tammy Pfeiffer has joined after retiring from the education advisor to Governor Herbert role here in Utah with the end of Herbert's last term. She moved on to Project Unite, and they've been working on this for a couple of years now. They launched it as a pilot program here in Utah, an 8-week program, ranking political discussions, legislative debates, candidate debates, the interviews in the media, including some of my own. And they ranked all this on a 1 to 8 dignity scale, which is, we'll explain later when we get to this, but very different than a civility scale, which is important and good. Not that civility is bad, but calls for civility are oftentimes really superficial and insincere, I find. And so I have a tendency to knee-jerk eye roll when I hear someone say, "Can't we be civil?" Because, usually the person saying that is just losing an argument. The Dignity Index is taking an entirely different approach to the same goal, which is reducing some of the rancor and even violent rhetoric in our politics these days, which can lead to violent actions. It's a great goal. It has a long road to go. Tammy told us that when she was last with us, in fact. But they have officially completed their pilot program in Utah a couple weeks ago. They've done some surveying. They've run it through researchers at the University of Utah and USU and other places, and they've compiled all of the data they learned and were able to collect during this 8-week pilot program about dignity and the influence of having this discussion in the first place on people as they watch campaigns play out, for example. And they've gone national, and they've published the report of what they learned. So we'll be getting to that later on in the hour. Also, some additional trivia for you, of course. A little preview of tomorrow's show, because we'll be speaking tomorrow on the show with Frank Schofield, the superintendent of the Logan City School District. A big general update on the Logan City District. A lot of things changing, a lot of fluid situations there, from growth of student body to the future of the district itself, how they plan to expand some of their services and offerings to students and parents and more. So Frank will be with us tomorrow, but we'll have a little preview of what we'll be discussing tomorrow with some announcements from the Logan District coming just today. So that's coming up later in the program as well. We'll kick things off here with just a bit of, I was going to say fun, but I'm doing this for a very serious reason. As I started the show today discussing, the Highway Patrol sent out and posted on their Facebook page some details of the last 24 hours here in Utah. Close calls with troopers, accidents that were entirely avoidable, including one up here in northern Utah, 2 actually. One a fatality on 10th West here, which was speed-related on slick roads. A bus rollover in Tremont that luckily led to minor injuries, but it still could have been very serious if you've seen photos of that bus that they believe was related to a lane change in slushy or snowy road conditions that happened at too high of a speed. So just 2 examples there, but the Highway Patrol saying in the last 24 hours they've had close calls with troopers, assisting others in accidents or stuck in the snow. They've had issues. They had a plow driver that was almost swept off the road by someone in a 4-wheel drive pickup truck who thought they were bulletproof, trying to pass them too fast, losing control. Plow driver in a near miss, and the entire road closed for an hour and a half while they dug everybody out. And that's best case scenario in some of these road conditions. So again, as temperatures drop, as these wet roads become icy roads, just a general reminder again that regardless of what you're driving, all-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, if you are going too fast, and too fast is extremely relative, dependent on road conditions. I'm not talking too fast because of what's posted on the speed limit sign. I'm talking about too fast for the road conditions. You are a risk to you and everyone around you. And with that in mind, I reached out to, again, forgetting the poor timing on my part, I reached out to our friends in the research wings of Utah State University because I know that they had done some amazing presentations on this in the past, and asked them if they could join us today. Bad timing on my part. It is still week 2 of finals week. It started last week, goes into this, and so everyone's pretty busy. But several of our friends there at Utah State University were nice enough to send along some of their presentations and their data and some really great explanations of what's actually happening when it comes to the laws of physics and at the molecular level. Yeah, going that far down of the size scale to understand what's actually happening when you're driving down the road, and how little water it actually takes to cause you to lose control of your vehicle, even going 5 miles faster than the road conditions physically permit. Why it's so important to be able to read those conditions. It's fascinating to look at this from the perspective of again, at a molecular level, and the irrefutable, even if you're driving a Subaru, laws of physics. We'll be back with that right after this.
Hi, this is Scott Howder. At Allen Mortuaries, we're mindful of the challenges and changes families who have lost loved ones experience during the holidays. We're also aware of the love, hope, and generosity of others. You are in our thoughts and prayers this holiday season, and we're also available to provide a measure of support whenever needed. We're always here to help. It's what we've been doing for over 80 years. Sincerely wishing you happy holidays from all of us at Allen Mortuaries. Then, now, always.
It's never too cold or wet to get rid of that old vehicle. Now is the time to earn extra cash for the holidays by calling DD Auto and Salvage. Let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it easy and fast to get rid of your junker vehicles, paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204.
That's 787-1204 today.
See store for details.
Talking to your kids about the dangers of vaping can be hard. Getting them to listen to hot gossip is easy. So here's some drama you could share with your kid. Dude, did you hear about Cassie and Jake? No, but did you hear that vaping can cause irreversible lung damage and nicotine affects brain development? Nuh-uh. You don't need to gossip if you want to have an open conversation about vaping. So if you want to get tips on when and how to talk to your kids, visit talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Courtesy of our friends at Utah State University, digging into a bit here the actual physics of poor road conditions and your speed. Specifically a situation where, as the Highway Patrol says, they've been dealing with a lot of the last 24 hours, unfortunately. Drivers traveling at just a zero common sense rate of speed for the road conditions, putting troopers at risk, causing accidents that are entirely avoidable, and unfortunately, even fatalities in these situations. Speed is the factor. And what we do know from the psychology of drivers is that when someone is going too fast, it's because they're overconfident. They feel like they're all-wheel drive or they're four-wheel drive or they're just their skills as an observant driver, something I've even told myself before, I get it, are going to allow them to avoid bad situations and not cause other situations. Well, if you're going too fast, it's just a matter of time before you're wrong. And if you're lucky, that wrong is just, oops, I slid a little bit. I'm in a snowbank now. I can back out of it and go on my way, and no one saw this. If you are unlucky, the outcome is far more severe and could, on a very serious note, mean the loss of life to you or someone else, some other driver minding their own business. It's that big of a deal. So I reached out to our friends at Utah State University to see if someone could come on today, forgetting again, second day in a row this week, I've forgotten this, that it is finals week. But they were nice enough to send along some of the presentations they'd done on exactly this question before, and I've linked to them on our Facebook page. But here's just a little bit of it. So now, obviously, when you're driving along, Bill, you're not going to be thinking of molecular science and the laws of physics that are at play there and how molecules interact with each other. That's not on most of our minds as you're headed to work.
The average person. Right.
Headed to the grocery store. But just for now, we're going to talk about that. What happens when you lose control of your vehicle on icy roads? And this is what USU researchers sent along to me that really, I think, is one of the coolest ways to think about and understand this that I've ever thought of, and it's entirely to do with the laws of physics as they apply to that point where your tires are touching whatever surface you're driving on. And the example that they give to understand this is an ice skater. Now, most of us, when you think of an ice skater going across ice, you think they're gliding along on those blades of steel that cut into the ice enough just to allow them to glide in one direction, but stop their feet from going, the other direction because the blade is cutting in, right? Mm. What's actually happening, though, is that a tiny layer of water, and we're talking again at the molecular level, a tiny layer of water is forming where the steel meets the ice. It's actually a bit of a chemical reaction, but
and it's liquid, and it's
yeah. So what allows a skater to slide is the steel, when it meets the ice, instantaneously a tiny little layer that you can only see with a microscope of water forms between the ice and the blade. It's not visible to the eye. And it is, again, at the molecular level that this happens. And that is actually what allows the skater to slide, is this water that exists between the ice and the steel blade. Well, the same exact thing happens with your tires. And it can be determined by temperature, by road type. Ice and on asphalt is very different than ice on cement, things like that. But the basic rule is the same, that your car's control, directional, speed, braking, all of that depends on 4 tires contacting the road, and that those patches of road that are in contact with the tire are securely themselves planted to the ground, i.e. you're not driving over something that can spin out from underneath your tires like gravel. That is what gives you your traction and control. But if you're driving on snow or ice, or at worst, actually, a mixture of the two, and which is, as the sun goes down and temperatures cool, that's what we're all dealing with. That thin layer of water tries to float. Again, you can't see this, but that thin layer of water, again, is trying to float your tire up. And your tire turning is the only thing that stops that from happening. That's why the tread on your tire works. Basically, it's enough to just break up that layer of water that forms between the ice and your tire that allows a skater to slide on ice skates. And that tread just shakes it up enough that you're getting bits and pieces of traction here and there. While the water's still separating you from the road by a molecule, these other parts are breaking through and you maintain your traction. The faster your tire is spinning, the less that happens. So the faster that tire is moving against the roadway, the more empowered that tiny molecular sliver of water between your tire and the road, or your tire and the ice, or packed snow can also do this. That tiny sliver becomes very powerful the faster your tire is spinning. Because the faster your tire is spinning, the less opportunity it is for those treads on your tire to break through that. Again, this is just fascinating.
So it's kind of like molecular hydroplaning.
Basically, yeah. I mean, that is literally what is happening. Every time you're driving on roads that are either icy, wet, or even just snow-packed. Now, it's a little different with fluffy white snow that's just come down. In those cases, the risk is your tire's actually packing it, but the tread usually stops it from packing it as a single sheet, a solid sheet. But if you're talking ice and just wet road conditions, water on the road the faster your tire is spinning, the less your tread is doing what it's designed to do, which is to break through that very, very tiny, invisible to the human eye layer of water that forms almost immediately when literally the rubber meets the road, or in this case, ice. Just like an ice skater's skate, where the metal almost instantaneously causes a reaction with the ice that forms a tiny, only visible through a microscope layer of water that allows the blade to slide against the friction of the ice. So it's basically lubrication. Or as you said, Bill, at a molecular level, constantly hydroplaning, and the tread of your tire is there to basically throw a wrench in that natural process and give you some traction. But if your tire's spinning too fast, even if you are solidly on the road, if your tire's spinning too fast, the tread becomes less and less effective at every extra mile of speed for the road conditions.
That's why if you slow down, you might make it to your destination.
That's right.
With no problems.
So another way to understand this, if you're speeding, you're basically intentionally speeding for the road conditions, not the road signs. But if you're going faster than the road conditions allow, you're basically making the choice to undo the entire purpose of the tread on your tires. I mean, that's the decision you're willingly making. It doesn't make much sense. We'll be back after this look at the local headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KBNU News Time is 5:31, and the news is brought to you by U&I Furniture. A 22-year-old Logan man has been sentenced to prison for filming multiple teenagers using the bathroom, downloading child pornography, and other crimes. Brigham Scheiss was given the maximum sentence after a judge said he had never seen such disgusting actions. Scheiss was sentenced Monday morning in First District Court. He previously accepted a plea deal, pleading guilty to 6 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor, 2 counts of possession of a firearm by a restricted person, and 10 misdemeanors for voyeurism, lewdness, and possession or use of a controlled substance. Cache County Deputy Attorney Ronnie Keller said the case was particularly shocking. While searching his phone, police found evidence of sexual exploitation of a minor. They obtained another search warrant to extend their scope of the search and seize more electronics from Scheiss's residence. As police searched the phone further, they found 9 videos of voyeurism. The videos appeared to be made using a secret recording device in the home's bathroom. They showed 3 different 15 or 16-year-old girls and boys changing and showering. Police also found images of child pornography. The judge, Spencer Walsh, expressed concern that Scheiss had become pretty twisted and a danger to the community despite his young age. He was sentenced to 2 consecutive terms of 1 to 15 years in prison and recommended credit for the 245 days already served. It will be up to the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole to determine the exact length of incarceration and whether or not to grant the credit. Ryan Smith, president of USU College Republicans, was a guest on KBNU's For the People program on Monday. Smith said that he and other college students are a different demographic and so may view things a little different from their older counterparts in a conservative population.
Yeah, I mean, look at the recent Marriage Act that passed through the House and the Senate dealing with gay marriage. 3 of the 4 of our congressmen here voted for that.
Yeah.
And it's something that's going to be more popular within the younger generation. They're going to be very supportive of that. They're going to want to take more action on climate. They might not want to take the liberal side action on some of the climate change and environmental issues, but they want to have conservative solutions to environmental problems.
He said he thinks there are a lot of good things happening at Utah State University, but there are some concerns on campus.
One common concern that I often hear brought up by students or different class and that it doesn't matter if they're Republican, Democrat, Independent. It might not even be politically related.
Sure.
Is they just don't feel like the university cares. They don't feel like the university listens when students have concerns.
Smith said he would love to see more conversations happen with students. He said students need to be part of the process, feeling like they're molding and helping the university. And when they are not allowed to do that, they feel disconnected. Utah Department of Natural Resources Executive Director Joel Ferry has named Jason Curry as the new director for the Utah Division of Outdoor Recreation. Curry comes from the Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands, where he has been serving as the deputy director. In his new role, Curry will work to expand and improve Utah's outdoor recreational opportunities and assets by promoting the economic, mental, and physical health benefits that come with outdoor activity. He will collaborate with land managers and industry partners to represent the state's outdoor recreation interests to inspire all Utahns to engage in outdoor recreation. A 24-year resident of Bountiful with his wife and 2 children, Curry enjoys mountain biking, skiing, OHV, and snowmobile riding, rock climbing, camping, sailing, and just about any other form of outdoor recreation. KBNU News Time is 5:34.
You'll love the holiday specials and big selection when you shop at UNI Furniture. Got guests coming? How about their best-selling mattress, a Therapeutic Serene featuring a zone coil system, comfy stretch knit top, only $399 for the queen size. For Christmas, a TV? How about 50 different console choices from small to large, with or without fireplaces, and over 200 chairs on display, including the best in recliners. They offer free layaway and prices you'll love. A local standard when it comes to furniture. There's always a better buy at UNI Furniture, UNI Downtown Logan.
KVNU weather for tonight, mostly cloudy skies, overnight low 15 to 20, and then cloudy upper 20s on Wednesday. Another round of snow, 50% chance of snow Wednesday night, and then a slight chance of snow Thursday morning, partly sunny by afternoon, high in the mid-20s. Partly sunny, quite cold Friday, only around 20 for the high. It's been to 28. Right now it's 26 at KBNU. Top Job Asphalt specializes in asphalt paving and maintenance as well as concrete installation and repair. Trusted in Cache Valley for over 15 years. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
Happy holidays from Birch Creek Golf Course. For your golfer this Christmas, I invite you to visit birchcreekgolf.com. Birch Creek's online store offers punch passes that are on sale at the spring sale price, as well as driving range passes and discounted golf lessons from our PGA teaching staff. So for your golfer this Christmas, I invite you to visit birchcreekgolf.com and enjoy Birch Creek's virtual online store. And happy holidays from your friends at Birch Creek.
For those who spend their time outside, find the gifts that go at Cache Honda Yamaha. ATVs, side-by-sides, motorcycles, and all the accessories to go with them. Fox and Fly riding gear, casual wear, helmets. In fact, Cache Honda Yamaha has all helmets on sale now. Plus goggles, gloves, hats, riding gear, and heated grips. Even ATV and UTV snowplows. The gifts that go are found at Cache Honda Yamaha at the Light in Hyde Park.
Hey, can't it be the Looney Tune?
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. It is official. The Dignity Index that we've talked about multiple times here on the show with our good friend Tammy Pfeiffer, former Logan City Council member, school board representative, and education advisor for years to Governor Gary Herbert, now with an organization working with Tim Shriver and others called Project Unite, the name of the umbrella organization. But the specific project here in Utah was an 8-week pilot program called the Dignity Index. We had a chance to talk with them throughout the pilot, running here in Utah only. Throughout the campaigns, they reviewed candidate rhetoric in ads and on debate stages, in interviews, and more. and ranked them on a dignity scale. As we've discussed before with Tammy, this is very different than the kind of white noise of constant calls and sometimes selective calls for civility. The dignity index instead looks at how people are disagreeing, even if it's heated, even if it's angry, and ranks the conversation happening in our politics on a dignity index, a 1 to 8 ranking, with the dignity of the conversation being the focus. It's official this week, a national project at this point, meaning that the Project Unite and the Dignity Index will be ranking things in the upcoming presidential election, which is unfortunately already underway, but also heading into the next election cycle here in Utah. Between now and then, they plan to do a lot of public educating on what the point of focusing on dignity in our conversations. Again, not saying we can't argue or even get angry with each other, even at times scold each other. One conversation Tammy and I had weeks ago, I pointed out, that one of my issues with calls for civility is what if the conversation you're having is something online with, say, a neo-Nazi? Are you expected to be civil with a person that holds such abhorrent beliefs and is calling for, say, the extermination of Jews or members of the LGBTQ community, something that literally is happening a lot these days on at least social media? And Tammy pointed out that, you can condemn that as abhorrent. You can even say to that person, your beliefs are awful towards other human beings, but you can do it in a way that leaves you with your dignity. So as this rolls out on a national stage, we had a chance to check in with Tammy and get a bit of an update on the Dignity Index and what they learned during the 8-week pilot program here in Utah.
And let me just get the most important question out. Is it snowing in Cache Valley?
Off and on.
We've got some snow coming down here today.
Off and on, but down there in Salt Lake, way worse than what we've gotten today.
Yeah. We've had snow off and on all day. It's not sticking, but there's a lot of snow. Okay, anyway, that was the important thing. One of the things we wanted to do was start a conversation about this. And I think we've done that. I think we've started a conversation, and when you see people that really latch onto it, that are really motivated and touched by it, and when you see people that are defensive about it and skeptical, it's all good. We've started a conversation. And then our goal is to take that conversation then to the next level where we really get people thinking about this. And, the incidents that are in the news right now with Nancy Pelosi's husband really highlights the need for us to watch our language. Sure. Because it's that language of violence and demeaning and belittling, and we're better than those people. One of the points on the dignity scale is like when you get down into the contempt side 3 and 2. At 2, it's those people are evil and a danger to everything we value. They're going to ruin us if we let them. It's us or them.
Sure.
You're sowing the seeds of violence, and I think we don't. I don't think we realize the extent to which language can lead to these violent acts.
Sure. And there's such a difference between, a crass phrase that I'll think in my head sometimes is, what a stupid idea. There's a difference between what a stupid idea and what a stupid person, or what a horrible idea and what a horrible person. And unfortunately, if you watch a lot of, the political rhetoric out there, the two become indistinguishable a lot in the rhetoric you see and hear.
Right. And you just made a great distinction. It's, you're a stupid person, which is like a 4 on the, it's just starting into contempt. But you're an evil person. That drops it down a couple of notches. And it's dangerous. And I think I'm going to guess, Jason, that you and I have been in similar situations where we say it's all their fault, right? It's like, and we're from different political parties, but there are times when I've just thought, especially on maybe an education issue or something, it's like, man, it's all those guys' fault. It's we're the good guys, and if they would just do what I wanted,
sure,
and it's their fault. Everything else is their fault, and that is in the contempt side. it's not down at the bottom, but it's everything good happens because of my party and everything bad happens because of your party.
Sure.
We don't realize that even that gradation of contemptuous language is taking us down the wrong side of this scale.
It's interesting, and I know that most of what you're doing with the Dignity Index is to start the conversation. Have you explored it all? Because so you got me curious about this, and I started doing a lot of reading, mostly of political scientists who have written and researched this type of thing. And again, Tammy, it came down to the same thing that if we want to reduce, we know that rhetoric can trigger people who are maybe already sitting on a ledge, mental health wise. Right. It can push them over, and they go do something heinous. We know that. What I don't understand is, when did this all start? When did we really start down this road of the first time I ever heard it referenced was at Utah State University, and it was referred to as elimination rhetoric. It was a political science professor saying, we're talking about, we're not just trying to beat the other party in the elections, we're trying to obliterate them, wipe them off the map.
Yeah.
And he was raising concerns about that type of language. And I remember at the time thinking, whatever, it's words. But he was right. But do we know when things really took this turn?
I think you would get different answers based on who you ask, but it certainly has been maybe the last 25 years, 20 to 25 years. In my recollection, anyway, that's when it started to turn. And I want to go back to the point that you made, because there will be some people that we will be dismissive and say, well, yeah, I mean, people that are already maybe have a mental illness, or they're on the edge, and this type of rhetoric's going to spark something, and they're going to commit, as you say, one of these heinous acts. And you're overstating the impact of the rhetoric. But let's just step back for a minute. Let's say that, millions of people aren't going to commit a terrible crime or an act of violence. But what is it doing to our ability to problem solve for the rest of us, right?
Sure.
When you have a Congress full of people and this kind of rhetoric is out there, and again, I'm going to go back to your party and my party, and your party is awful, and, everything to blame the country is because of your party.
Sure.
Well, now I'm sitting in Congress across from or surrounded by people from that party. Are they going to want to work with me? Are they going to want to problem solve with me? Am I going to want to problem solve with them? I've just told everyone how I think, you're terrible. And so even if this doesn't spark maybe more of the extreme, violent behavior or threat, it is stunting our ability to solve problems.
Sure. And I've been frustrated watching, for example, this United States Senate race playing out here in Utah. Both candidates, I think, have done a good job of, in their own messages during the debates and any ads you see in which it's their own voice and their own words coming from their campaigns, they've been pretty respectful to each other. Critical, of course, their opponents, but respectful. And then these PACs from outside of Utah,
right.
Supporting both candidates in equal measure, roughly. Not so much. A lot of angry and eliminationist rhetoric. It is kind of frightening when you realize, as you've mentioned here, Tammy, this could lead to a total breakdown in the whole point of getting elected to Congress, which is to solve problems, right?
Right. And that's when, I was talking with someone the other day when the stakes are so high because you have to obtain a majority in the Senate, for example. And the stakes are so high because I have to have that majority. Why do I have to have that majority? Because no one's going to compromise. I'm not going to find, people from the other party to come to my side. We're not going to be able to do bills together. I'm not going to do bipartisan things because we've become so polarized. And so it raises the stakes of these very campaigns because we're not working across the aisle. And then the fact that the stakes are raised makes the campaigning more derogatory and toxic. It's sort of like this horrible cycle that we find ourselves in. So we do. We have a pledge. If you just log on to dignityindex.us or .us, it will take you right to the pledge. And in the pledge, it says, there's no America without democracy. There's no democracy without a healthy debate. And there's no healthy debate without dignity. Therefore, I pledge to do more to treat others with dignity and not contempt. And we've had I think I've got about 200 people just in the last week or so that have signed up to take the pledge. And maybe when your show is done, we'll have 200 Cache Valley friends
that's great.
that go online and sign up and take the pledge. And when you do, you can opt in. Well, we've got a kind of an updated email list. We haven't sent out emails yet, but we would like to send an occasional newsletter saying, hey, this is where we're at with the initiative. This is what we learned. We'll be doing some focus group and some polling after the project's over in a couple of weeks. And we'd love to update people on, what the impact of this project was, lessons learned, what we might change for a national rollout, that kind of thing.
There is always a way to say the same thing you're trying to say with more dignity, I think, which is what this is all about. And I love that it's happening here in Utah because we are a great test group, I think, and our politics here right now are elevated with the elections and with what's at stake. Yeah. So I'm excited to see where this goes. Several weeks in this left. And Tammy, as a final question for you, I know there's a research team behind this. There's some surveying and polling that's going to happen. What do you hope to leave the eight-week pilot program with heading out onto the national stage?
We did some pre-surveying before the launch, and we'll do some post-surveying. One thing I hope that we find is that we've at least raised a little bit of awareness. Instead of having 0% of the state having ever heard of the Dignity Index or the principles of dignity or some of the concepts, we hope that at least a small portion, of the state or some people will have heard about it. So we hope that the messaging, we hope that people will respond to the messages of, can we solve problems with more dignified language? And we'll ask that question in a variety of ways, but we hope to see a change from the survey that we did before to the post survey. And we're hoping to see people interested. I spoke at an event with Governor Herbert last week in Utah Valley in the chamber, and we spoke for about 30 minutes. He introduced this. I talked about the index. I had a line of people afterwards. I spoke all day to people off and on wanting to know more about this. I've got a speaking engagement lined up in Las Vegas for Republican women. I'm speaking to the State League of Women Voters, 3 Rotary clubs. I feel like people are starving for this. And I've really been caught off guard with how many people came up afterward and said, I want to know more. I want to do this. I want you to speak to this group. What else can I be doing?
The website, again, dignityindex.us. Tammy Pfeiffer, former Logan City Council member and former education advisor to Governor Gary Herbert, also a stint as a school board representative for District 1. Thank you for your time today, and thanks to you and your team for launching this pilot, this experiment, if you will. Again, one of the reasons, and I hope our listeners are intrigued at least this much as well, one of the reasons I'm so intrigued by this is that calls for civility sound like white noise to me. They fall on deaf ears, my deaf ears, because oftentimes calls for civility are usually used by a person losing an argument or a political moment in history. Oftentimes calls for civility are used by those actually being not very civil at all. One concept of civility to kind of highlight my critique of a lot of current calls for civility. Civility requires humility. And oftentimes when you hear someone calling for civility, you don't have to scroll very far back in their social media threads or their own behavior as an elected official during legislative debates or otherwise to find them not being very civil at all. And yet calling for civility because someone used a swear in a conversation with them or something. And so oftentimes I roll my eyes at calls for civility because though I think civility is great, I don't think those making the most hay about it usually mean it. They usually mean stop criticizing me for being wrong. Dignity is a whole different thing. Calls for dignity, again, as Tammy said, as I've said many times on the show, in our discussions about the Dignity Index, you can be dignified in disagreement, even angry disagreement. So I'm really excited to see where this goes. Again, officially launched on a national stage. We'll see this play out outside of Utah now, and it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. DignityIndex.us is the website, and we'll be back with more of For the People right after this quick break.
Happy holidays from all of us here at the Cache Valley Media Group. We hope you'll do most of your Christmas shopping at our locally owned businesses. Mom and pop stores are the backbone of this community. If you need a shopping guide, pick up a free copy of the Best of Northern Utah magazine. Go to bestofnorthernutah.com to find a pickup location. You'll find plenty of businesses with products, gift cards, and services that will thrill anyone on your list. Thanks for helping us keep it local this holiday season. And Merry Christmas.
Want to stay healthy this holiday season? Want to make it to all those great parties? Want to just skip getting sick? Schedule a flu shot for you and your family. And while you're at it, get your COVID boosters too. Anyone age 5 and up can get one. And you're ready if it's been more than 2 months since your last dose. Keep the holidays healthy this year. Talk to a doctor or healthcare provider and visit uptodate.utah.gov to stay current on your immunizations.
When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient as well as the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006.
On the next Handle on the Law.
We're cohabiting, boyfriend and girlfriend.
All right, part of it, he gives you X number of dollars. Okay, you want to call it rent?
Is there a percentage for like cost of living over a couple of years?
You can increase it, I think, under state law, 10%. You're cohabiting, you're living together, and you go, by the way, it's 10%. You want to do that in the middle of a romantic interlude.
Saturday afternoons from 1 to 4 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM, the voice of Northern Utah.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. And that is pretty much our time for today. Leave everyone here with a final bit of fun trivia that was sent along by a listener. This was after we talked earlier in the week, late last week, about a new ranking showing that Utah was one of the most sought-after places to live for people in the startup world, the tech startup world specifically. Listener sent this along, kind of tongue-in-cheek, said, why don't you ever talk about this ranking? Ha ha ha. The reason they sent this along to be funny is that Utah came in pretty well on a ranking of smartest states. This is analysis done by an organization called Penn Stakes. They're based out of New England, and how they do this is kind of complicated, but it's Penn Stakes, by the way, is just the publisher of this. The research was actually done by researchers at several different universities for fun. And what they did is they looked at the number of academic degrees within an area's population. They looked at average IQ, SAT scores, ACT scores of residents. They also, Harvard University, part of this research, looked at a plethora of other college graduation rates where data allowed for tracking the original state the college graduate came from. And they came up with this ranking of the smartest states in the United States. Number 1 was Massachusetts, 2 Connecticut, 3 Maryland. Way down at the bottom, Rhode Island, Illinois, Montana. Now, this is the bottom of the top 20, so not bottom of the nation, bottom of the top 20, Rhode Island, Illinois, Montana, and Oregon. Sitting squarely in the middle at number 10, the state of Utah. So we are within the top 10 smartest states, at least based on college graduation rates, ACT and SAT scores, what little data there is out there about the average IQ, and the number of degrees in the most populous areas of the state. One of the problems with this type of ranking, though, Governor Cox actually talking about this just today, and we'll spend more time on it on tomorrow's show, is a college degree really the litmus test for intelligence? Governor Cox today said he feels we've spent too much focus on this and that it may be time to focus on increasing opportunities for trades and trade degrees, associate's degrees, things like that here in Utah, even more than we already have. We'll break it down tomorrow on the show, what the governor suggests. So we'll also speak with Frank Schofield, superintendent of the Logan City School District. We haven't checked in with them for a while, and they've got a lot of exciting things coming up and some new things for parents before the school year is over. Frank will join us tomorrow on the show, as well as a special Wednesday episode of Charlie Schill in the Theater Hour. We have a short show on Thursday when we normally do the theater hour due to the Logan High game, which will be kicking off in the afternoon and running halfway through our show on Thursday afternoon. So that would bump Charlie. Instead, he'll be with us tomorrow. That's the lineup for the People tomorrow starting at 4. Dave Ramsey is next here on KVNU Logan.